Bonjour, aujourd'hui c'est le 13 février et je continue ma leçon 1.2 which picks up from last week. So last week we talked about clause de mots. Clause de mots is essentially what the word is. So in a sentence, if we have the door is red, the would be the determinant, or the door would be the noun, is would be the verb, red would be the adjective. So whenever you're given a sentence or just whatever, you have the possibility of determining if it's a déterminant, a noun, an adjective, a pronoun, a verb, a preposition, adverb, conjunction, interjection, or présentatif. And présentatif is just voilà, voici. So yeah, when you're given a sentence, just analyze it fragment by fragment and determine what it is. Like the example that I give, the door is red. So moving on, this week we're going to talk about what we call les groupes syntaxiques. So groupe syntaxique is essentially the same thing. When given a word, you have to break it down and see which group it belongs into. But instead of the door is red, which you can analyze and really fragment into a word by word individually, this time we're going to look at the sentence or the sentence fragment and look at it as a group. That's why it's called groupe syntaxique. So for example, the door of the school. The is a determinant, door would be a noun, of would be a preposition, the would be another determinant, and school would be a noun. But instead of analyzing it like this, like how we would have done it last week, we're going to pinpoint the most important word of the sentence fragment. And before we move along, we have to understand what a sentence fragment is. A sentence fragment means that it is a dependent clause and that it is not a complete sentence. In order for it to be a complete sentence, there has to be a subject and a verb. The object is optional. So for example, I ate would be a complete sentence because I is the subject and ate is the verb. I ate a cake. A cake would be the object. It's receiving the action, but that's not mandatory because that's just an addition. So anyway, when I'm talking about sentence fragment, I just want to clarify that just means that it is a dependent clause, which means that it does not have a noun. In the case of the door of the school, the door, there is no verb in that whole sentence fragment. That's why I'm calling it like that. Anyhow, going back to what I'm talking about, last week we would have analyzed it word by word and said the is a determinant, door is a noun, etc. However, this week what we're focusing on is what is the most important point of the sentence. Here, the most important thing is the noun, door. Because of the school, the door of the school is a prepositional phrase. And how do we know that? Because of is a preposition, so everything that follows of, which is the school, is going to just be grouped under a prepositional phrase. But anyhow, the door is going to be the main central theme, and everything around it, the is going to be completing door. Of the school is just describing door. So door is what is the most important. That's why even though there is going to be nouns, there's going to be determinants, there's going to be adjectives, the main thing, the most important thing in this sentence fragment is door, which is a noun. That's why we're going to call it a groupe nominal. So what we're learning this week is groupe. So that just means that when you're looking at a sentence, instead of looking at it one by one, you're just going to pinpoint what is the most important word. And how do you know that? You just think of it in terms of what does it revolve around. It's never going to be a determinant because a determinant is there only to complete the noun. Usually prepositions, adjectives, adverbs, they're just there to complete the noun. So if you see a noun, it's always going to be the noun, the most important thing. But if you're just looking in terms of adjectives, for example, very boring, boring would be a groupe adjectival because the adjective is more, you could say, important than the adverb. But when the adverb is alone, then you would say it's a adverbial group because the adverb is alone and nothing is really as less important as the adverb. So I will present to you the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 group. So first of all, il y a un groupe verbal. Un groupe verbal, ça veut juste dire que ça fonctionne comme un verbe. Par exemple, il dit « il tourne en rond ». Il tourne en rond Tourne, ça va être le verbe et c'est le plus important, c'est le noyau. En rond, ça va juste être un groupe prépositionnel. C'est pour ça que le mot le plus important, c'est tourne. C'est pour ça que c'est un groupe verbal. Ensuite, il y a les groupes nominales, c'est ça que je t'avais parlé dans mon exemple. Les portes de l'école, les portes. Porte, ça va être un nom et c'est le plus important, c'est le noyau. C'est pour ça que ça va être un groupe nominal. Ensuite, il y a les groupes adjectivales. Les groupes adjectivales, ça veut juste dire, par exemple, c'est une journée très ennuyante. Ennuyante, ça va être le noyau, ça va être un groupe adjectival. Et très, ça va être un groupe adverbial qui complète le groupe adjectival. Ça veut dire que l'adjectif est plus important que l'adverbe. Alors, si vous voyez un adjectif et un adverbe en même temps, vous deviez penser que l'adjectif est plus important. C'est pour ça que ça va être un groupe adjectival s'il y a un adjectif et un groupe adverbial. Mais ça, c'est seulement si le groupe adverbial est tout seul. Ensuite, il y a les groupes prépositionnels. Prépositionnel, on sait que ça va être un groupe prépositionnel s'il y a une préposition. So, of the door, behind the door, under the table. Those are all prepositions, and you will know it's going to be a prepositional phrase because the words are going to be preceded by a preposition. So, ici, l'exemple, c'est de cette boîte. De, ça va être une préposition. Ensuite, il y a les groupes adverbiales. Par exemple, il conduit sa voiture rapidement. Rapidement, ça va être un adverbe. Ensuite, il y a les groupes infinitifs. Groupe infinitif, par exemple, partir en voyage fait toujours du bien. Partir en voyage, partir, ça va être un groupe infinitif. Alors, en voyage, ça va juste être là pour compléter ça. Just to clarify, infinitive just means that it's a verb that is non-conjugated. So, for example, in English, I ate, she eats, I ran, she ran, I ran, whatever, doesn't matter. Those are all verbs that are conjugated. The infinitive version, the non-conjugated version, would be to run. Same thing, to eat, to sleep. It always has to have to in order to indicate that it is non-conjugated. In French, instead of having a to in the front, it's just going to end with its respective endings. For example, the first group is ER, that's why it's going to just end in ER. Second group always ends with IR, that's why it's going to end with ER. And then the third group is either RE, RE, or OIR, OIR. So partir en voyage, you're gonna know that it's an infinitive group because it is the second. So that means it's a secondary ending, IR, and then it's not conjugated because a conjugated verb never ends with IR. So yeah. Ensuite, il y a les groupes participants. Participants, ça va juste être ça termine avec ANT. Alors, étant petit, j'étais très naïve. Ensuite, il y a les phrases subordonnées relatives. Par exemple, la chanson que je chante est jolie. So, the phrase subordonnée relative in English is basically the pronoun. So, if it starts with a pronoun, que in French is a pronoun. But if it starts with a pronoun in English, you would call it I forgot the name, but it's going to be a pronoun that is the main center of the sentence, and everything that precedes it, everything that follows it, is just going to be related to the pronoun. So it's going to be I'll get back to it soon. But yeah, that's going to be the most important thing. So it's the same thing in French. If you see a pronoun, you're going to know that that is going to be called a phrase subordonnée relative. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys.